Hey everyone, back with another video here. We got a Week 13 recap I want to talk about. Um, Flying solo tonight. We're gonna start scaling these videos back a little bit as we sort of get closer to the end of the season here. The playoffs are nearly upon us here. So as we mentioned in previous weeks, they start Week 15. So we have one more week of the regular season upcoming, and then after that, it's 3 weeks of playoffs. I want to jump in. I want to talk really about the standings. I think this week we're probably going to cut a lot of the commentary on some of the games that don't matter too much, a lot of teams that have been eliminated, and just focus on the playoff teams. So I apologize to anybody who may be watching these videos who is no longer in the playoff race, but at this point, not a whole lot to talk about when it comes to those teams who aren't going to make it. So I don't want to make them feel any worse or anything like that. So, anyways, looking at the standings here, Shannon has remained in first. I don't know, since like week 1, something like that. She's just been dominant. Even though she lost this past week, had a kind of unusual down game where she only scored 110 points. Actually, interestingly enough, now I just saw this, she lost by less than 1 point. So, kind of a close match there. So she's still out in first. She's got so many points scored. She has, almost 150 points more than Chad. That's been the case for a while now. So nobody's been able to catch her. She's clinched the playoffs. She has just about clinched a bye. We'll talk about that in a second about what she needs to do in order to get one. Chad's in second. So Chad and Scott also 9-4. The three of them are at the top 9-4. I'm in fourth, 8-5. Melissa's right there with me at 8-5. Justin's down in six at 7-6. Now, it's important to note here that Justin actually would not make the playoffs right now, even though he's in the sixth spot there in the standings. Currently, if the season ended today, the sixth seed for the playoffs would go to Ashley because she has the most points of the remaining 7 teams after 1 through 5. She's at 1731, whereas Justin's at 1696. So right now, Ashley's got a pretty good lead there in terms of points because the only other person, I mean, if there's a scenario in which Justin wins this next week, Melissa loses, maybe Justin pulls ahead of her in points because they're pretty close. They're only about 11 points between the two of them differential there. So there's a situation in which Justin can move into fifth, Melissa moves down to sixth, and then it's a point battle. And Melissa's fairly close to Ashley, only about 24 points there separates Ashley and Melissa. So it's still very much anyone's game. Outside of I've pretty much locked the spot because of the amount of points I scored, but uh, you know, fifth and sixth seeds are very much still up in the air. So going into this past week, it was sort of a three-way race for that sixth seed. It was Justin, Ashley, and Jimmy. They were all within a point of each other, which is the tiebreaker, obviously, there for the sixth seed. Ashley pulled away. She had a great week. We'll talk about her matchup a little bit. Jimmy, not so much. He had a down week, and Justin's week was just okay as well. So she's built herself a little cushion there. Again, she's probably got to stave off Melissa more than anybody, assuming Melissa doesn't win this upcoming week. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. Basically, at the top there, top 2 seeds in the playoffs get a bye week 15, meaning they don't have to play. So they'll move on to the second round of the playoffs automatically. So it's between 3 teams right now. 3 teams can really, truly make one of those two bye spots, and that's Shannon, Chad, and Scott there at the top. The scenarios sort of how it plays out is Shannon and Chad play each other in week 14, and we'll talk about that soon. So there's only going to be one winner between the two of them. Only one of them is going to advance to 10-5. One of them will, for sure, advance to 10-5. One will not. The winner of that game gets a bye. No questions asked. That's just how it's going to work out. The 10-5 team will get a bye. If Scott wins, he will get the other bye. So the winner of Chad and Shannon's team, guaranteed bye. If Scott wins, guaranteed bye for him. Now, if Scott loses, then almost certainly Chad and Shannon will get the byes. Regardless of who wins between their matchup, they will get the bye simply because of the amount of points scored. Right? Because if Scott loses, and let's say Chad loses, well, they would both be 9-5. Okay, well, Chad has over 100 points more scored than Scott. So, Chad would get the tiebreaker over there, and he would get the second bye. So it's between the 3 of them. 2 of them are going to get the bye. One of them is not. The rest of us are just going to be fighting it out down for seeds 4 through 6 effectively. So let's jump in. Let's talk about some of these matchups real quick. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, like we said. I had a close matchup here with Henry. Lost by about 4 points. Had to play 4 Colts. Changed my name to the Baltimore Colts. Not a good week. Got a lot of injured players. Henry had pretty solid games from a lot of his guys: Burrow, Allen, Godwin, Madison in Dalvin Cook's absence. So again, we won't talk about too much there. Henry is eliminated from playoff contention effectively. He even if he won this last week, he wouldn't have enough points to catch Melissa. So Melissa would have the tiebreaker even if she lost. So he's out. He's eliminated. So let's move on. Let's talk about this game here between Ashley and Chad. Ashley won. Had a pretty good game, 150 points, even though she got goosed by Jacoby Myers in a game where Mac Jones only had to throw the ball 3 times, which is pretty insane. George Kittle, crazy game there, 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a George Kittle game right there. First one we've had this season where it's really been impressive. So welcome back, George Kittle. Tom Brady, back to form finally. Apparently he loves crushing Atlanta. This is the 4th time he's done it. All around solid performance, even though she had a lot of single digits from some of her guys, including the Goose, and she still pulled out a pretty good score here. Chad, also pretty good game. Wasn't enough to overcome Ashley, but Damian Harris had a good game last night. Cooper Kupp, always good. Justin Herbert. This was if Chad had won here, he would have locked up a bye. There'd be one team sitting at 10-4 right now, and he'd be in a safe spot. Unfortunately, he did not get that. Move on here. Let's talk about Justin and Chris. So we don't need to talk too much about Chris's side. He has been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs for a long time here, but Justin obviously very much still in it. He started Mac Jones, who, as I just mentioned, threw 3 passes for 19 yards, and that was it. That was the extent of his production. Also credited with -3 rush yards, which I'm guessing were a couple sacks or a sack. Everybody else on the team, Devonta Freeman and Gronk, 2 of his best players. It's kind of sad when Devonta Freeman is, the best player in your team for a week, but it happens sometimes. So Justin, he's got to make up. Switch back to the standings real quick. He's down right now. He's got to catch up to Ashley. He's got to get 35 points effectively, more than her in this final week. It's certainly possible. We've had bigger differentials than that, obviously, all the time, but it's going to be difficult. So. He's getting close to being eliminated as well. So moving on here, talk about JT and Kate. Not to jump around too much here, but yeah, JT was our high scorer, I think, for the first time this season. So congrats, JT. Got the high score there. 162 points against Kate. Good game from JT here. Stafford, great. Renfro had a good game. Renfro's been pretty good in the absence of Henry Ruggs lately. So definitely a solid pickup there. CeeDee Lamb's been on fire, and Hunter Gibson had a good game. Lockett. Javonte finally, first game without Melvin Gordon. Solid, 33 points. Looked really good. Clear that he's going to be the future of this team. So that was cool to see. Just reflecting quickly on a trade that JT and I made several weeks ago where I gave him Lockett, Gibson, and Lamb, and he gave me in return Henderson and Ridley. I was pretty happy about that trade at first. I like the pieces I got. This past week, I had no Henderson because he was injured. Ridley's been out since 3 days after I made that trade for personal issues. Meanwhile, the 3 players I gave JT put up 19 points, 22 points, and 20 points. So I think several weeks down the road, JT obviously won that trade, but it is what it is. Can't predict the future. Kate. Middle of the game here, we don't need to talk too much about her side since she's also eliminated. So we'll move on. We'll talk about Melissa and Jimmy's game. Now, talk about this. It's another close game here. Melissa won by exactly 1 point. Part of that was related to, I know, last night's game. Jimmy didn't need much to overcome Melissa, right? I mean, coming into this game, she had nobody. Just double checking that. Meanwhile, he had Kendrick Bourne, New England wide receiver, and Buffalo defense. So he would have been down, about 4 points coming into this game with those 2 left to play. And what happens? Kendrick Bourne has 3 rushing yards. Again, Mac Jones threw 3 passes, and Kendrick Bourne was not one of the receivers. Buffalo got 3 points. So Jimmy loses by, 1 point. Not a big deal for Jimmy, honestly. It's just kind of a funny sort of quirky bit there from his game, but it doesn't really matter. Jimmy is one of the teams playing for points right now. He's not going to get one of those 1 through 5 seeds. He's looking at getting a most points 6 seed place. So again, a loss for him didn't matter, but he needed points to keep up with Justin and Ashley. But not looking good for him right now. He's still got a chance, but again, he's about 30 points behind Ashley. So not great, not great. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about Scott and Shannon's team here. So again, this was another. We had 2 close games, two games decided by a point or less this week, which is pretty crazy. Scott pulled out the win. He's I think won 6 now in a row, which is pretty impressive. It's obviously put him in 3rd place. So he's been having a run of it. Nobody really stand out here. David Montgomery finally had a good game, first one since returning from injury. Everybody else is really just middling. I mean, these were 2 low-scoring teams this week. Shannon had an unusually down week as well. A lot of her guys did not come to bat, but she's got a couple powerhouses sort of. She had Devontae Adams on bye and Deebo Samuel was out with an injury. So 2 of her better players were out for the week. So and then just a couple stinkers mixed in. So this was an important win for Scott. Likewise, it was a important loss for Shannon because again, if she had won this game, she'd be locked into one of those bye spots, 1st and 2nd seed in the playoffs. So it was an important game for both of them, and Scott ended up taking the W here. So congrats to him. It put him in 3rd place, put him in contention for that bye spot. So real quick, we'll jump in. We'll talk about the week 14 stuff. I think I'm going to focus mostly on the playoff games here. I don't want to take a ton of time with this. I'll talk quickly about my game since I'm in contention here. I have changed my name to the Baltimore Colts because I have a bunch of Colts players. Well, Colts are on bye week 14, so poorly timed when I'm trying to make a push for the higher seed. So at this point, I've resolved myself to the fact that I'm not going to get a win this week against JT, and that's okay. Hopefully, it gives my players another week to rest up, come back from the bye, get healthy, just in time to go on a playoff run. So, I'm giving up this week. May not even be able to start a full roster, honestly, given how my lineup looked. Last week I had everybody on my bench was out or on a bye. Ridley was out, Robinson was out, Shepard was out, Carter was out, Swift was out, Henderson was out. He's back in my lineup now, and then I had Tannehill on a bye. So it's a very bad week for me depth-wise last week and this week as well. Can't help that. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about let's see the next playoff-related one. So Ashley's got Kate this week. Again, not super important here. The win doesn't matter for Ashley. She's, a win's not going to help her. It's not going to put her into the 1 to 5 seed. What she needs is points. So it doesn't matter who she plays. The win doesn't matter. She's not really losing anybody of any consequence with the buys. Hopefully she gets Kamara back this week. That'll really help her. DJ Moore is back off his bye as well. That should be a bit of a help as well if Cam Newton can play decently. So, I expect a pretty solid matchup from her. Again, it doesn't matter about Kate's side or how many points Kate puts up here. It's just about how many points Ashley can score. I think she'll have a good week. Let's talk about Justin here. Justin and Henry. I think we said Henry's eliminated, right? Yeah, Henry really has no shot of making it. So we won't dwell on his side. But Justin here, he's got Diggs against Tampa Bay is a pretty decent matchup. Evans against Buffalo is okay. James Conner against the Rams isn't bad as long as Chase Edmonds remains out. Aaron Rodgers, Gronk, see if he's got anybody on his bench he can play. Dante Parker's on bye this week. Gesicki, So, we'll see. Some of his guys, I don't love guys like Emmanuel Sanders or Devonta Freeman even when they can put up points. So, I don't expect a ton of points from him. I think he's going to have a hard time catching Ashley, which is what he needs to do. He's down about 35 points. I think it's going to be tough sledding for him to, put 35 points plus on whatever Ashley scores this week. So good luck to Justin this week, though. Let's move on. We'll talk about Melissa's game here, another one in contention. She's sitting in the 5th seed right now. A win will lock her there, pretty much. She'll be safe at the 5th seed. A loss could be kind of devastating, though, because she's only got 1,700 points. So that would put her behind, people like Ashley. And it would put her really close to Jimmy and Justin. So this is a big week for her. Of all the sort of playoff games this week, outside of the Shannon and Chad one, this might be the most important because, again, it could knock Melissa out of the 5th seed. and put her in that points battle for the 6th seed. So she's got, Kyler Murray, Jamar Chase been kind of mediocre lately. She gets Tyreek. Najee's got a pretty good matchup. Josh Jacobs has been pretty good lately. Kyle Pitts has been terrible. She's got to flex another tight end. Let's see if she's got anybody else she can play down here. Cortland Sutton's been garbage. Ingram, might not be worth anything if Kamara's back. Yeah, I might play AJ Green over Kyle Pitts, honestly. Put Ertz in the tight end, maybe. I don't know. It's a tough one. AJ Dillon, she's gonna have. I think she'll get the win. I'm not. I think she'll be fine there. I think she'll be able to beat Chris, which is important. But if not, I'm not sure. I have a lot of confidence in her to score a ton of points to overcome Ashley's point total. So big week for her. Good luck to her. Hopefully she can pull out that win and keep her 5th seed. Let's move on here. We'll talk about Jimmy and Scott. So, Jimmy, again, he's in that running for the 6th seed in terms of points scored. He is down a good bit from Ashley, as we talked about 30 points. So, again, this match doesn't matter to him from a win perspective. It matters from a points perspective. When I look at his team, I don't have a lot of confidence that he's going to put up a lot of points. I really don't. Julio Jones is probably back this week. Darren Waller should hopefully be back this week. Melvin Gordon should be back this week. But all these dudes are injured. Some of them haven't been all that great to begin with. He loses Gaskin. Okay. Justin Jefferson just came off a monster game. 44 points. We didn't talk about that in this game. But, Lamar has been pretty bad. I don't have a lot of faith that Jimmy can put up a ton of points this week either, which is important. Equally important is I think that means Scott can get an easy win here. And again, as I said earlier, if he wins, Scott gets a 1st or 2nd seed bye. Probably the 2nd seed. It'll be the 2nd seed because he doesn't have nearly as many points as Chad or Shannon. So if he wins, he gets that seed. So, this is an important game to him in that regard because if he loses this game, well, then he's not getting the bye and he's got to play week 1 of the playoffs. And the payouts are only for the top 4. So if you get eliminated week 1, you get nothing payout-wise. So very important week to him. Almost as important of a week to Jimmy as well. Let's move on and talk about our last matchup here. We kind of already touched on it. It is Shannon and Chad. Like I said, arguably maybe the most important here because the winner of this game, hands down, gets a bye, takes the 1st seed going into the playoffs. And, it's an important matchup here. So we'll go through the lineups real quick. Chad's got Herbert against Giants. That's a good matchup. McLaurin against Dallas. Not bad. Cooper Kupp against Arizona. That could be a real shootout. So that's great. That's exciting to see. Cordero's been solid. And he's got Chuba Hubbard. Don't love him, but let's see if he's got anybody he can swap in with him. Dalvin Cook. I'm not sure Dalvin Cook's going to be back this week. So he might have to roll with Chuba here. He doesn't really have a whole lot of other depth down there. Dalton Schultz, Darnell Mooney, Dontel Hilliard. Okay. Hilliard's been pretty good. Yeah, so we'll see. Shannon on the other side here. She's got Dak. T. Higgins has been killing it. Devontae Adams is coming back from bye. Eckler's been great. Fournette's been absolutely on fire as well. He's been so good. Brady loves him as a check down guy. Mark Andrews has been, pretty good in the games where Lamar doesn't suck too much. She's got Crowder and Davis in her lineup. Let's see. Debo, if Debo's healthy, which I'm not sure he's going to be, Debo will obviously slot in probably over Mike Davis. I do think I like Shannon's side here. I think the upside's a little bit higher for a lot of our guys. The projections have them very close, and I think that's fair. I still lean Shannon. But again, important matchup. It's going to be close. It's going to be tight. It's important to both of them. Good luck to you both here in week 14. So that's it, pretty much. We covered sort of the playoffs and the seedings and things of that nature. I think next week what we'll do is, outside of maybe some guest appearances, I'll do another short video touching on, sort of recapping the playoff-related matchups, and then going over the playoff seeding, which we will have officially established by the end of next week, and we'll kind of preview some of those playoff matchups. After next week, weeks 15, 16, and 17, only going to be talking about the playoff matchups. We'll not be focusing on any of the other matchups that still kind of happen in the background, as they won't really have any consequence on the league. So unfortunately, at that point, if you are eliminated from the playoffs, you may not get much out of these videos, but I plan on keeping them short anyways. So with that said, good luck to everybody this week. Important week of fantasy. hopefully everybody gets what they need done, and we will see you next week. Bye.